Okay, today I am going to share a few of my favorite self-care apps. So yeah, that's it for the intro. So the first one that I want to share is this really great app called Mood Path. So Mood Path is basically an emotion tracker. I really like to use it to track how I'm feeling and what my mood is throughout the day. You're able to enter in what your mood is 3 times a day, and it will periodically check to see what your mood is given a certain time period. I have found it to be super interesting to track particular triggers for what creates both positive and negative emotions. So you can start to identify patterns after using it for even just like a week in what is creating positive feeling and what is creating negative feelings. I feel like it's helped me to reveal a lot of information about myself that I didn't really know previously. So one example is after using this for a while, I've noticed that often patterns where I feel very good and I feel in a really good mood is usually because I've accomplished some challenging task or I have tried some new thing that I'm really excited about, and those things I hadn't previously associated with putting me in a good mood. And then also it's really good for helping figure out negative emotions. So this one was a little bit more expected, but I feel like whenever I have conflict with other people or even the perception of having a conflict with someone, I notice that my mood will drop a lot, and that's usually when my low points in my mood are. So yeah, Mood Path, great to track your mood, and I'm super excited to see all the data around my emotions by the end of the year or even at my 6-month mark to see what kinds of patterns emerge. So next app is the Headspace app. We could not talk about self-care without talking about a meditation app. I have been using Headspace for maybe about 3 years now. It's been kind of a while. They do have a free version. I personally pay for a membership, but I have found it to be extremely beneficial in the way that it teaches you about meditation, and I feel like the way that they teach makes it very accessible for new people. I also really like that there are a bunch of different types of meditation practices that you can use to target specific things. So there are meditation packs on anxiety, focus, anger, or feeling more joy. And there's even a bunch of new meditation stuff for sleep. So I found myself using it often for like 5 minutes before I go to sleep or during the day. I like to try and do it in the mornings, just like 10 minutes or so. And I feel like just using a meditation app in general has been amazing for my overall mental clarity and my mental space. So would highly recommend, not necessarily even just using Headspace. There are a ton of other great meditation apps out there, but this is just the one that I personally found out about first and have just kind of stuck with it. The next app is called The Pattern. So if you're not really into like astrology or horoscope type things, maybe this app isn't for you, but The Pattern is not explicitly an astrology app, but I think it's loosely based on astrology. When you start it, you must enter all the information that you would enter into like an astrological natal chart, your name and where you were born and when you were born and all that shebang, and it will track, supposedly will track different predictions for your mood and behaviors based on the patterns of the moon and the stars. I think it's really interesting, and definitely everything that you read on it should be taken with a grain of salt, but I like reading through the different predictions, and it'll say things like, the world is going through big changes right now, and I'll be like, oh my god, the world is going through changes. And it's just kind of cool to see sometimes what predictions overlap with what is actually happening, or how you can help to assign meaning in things that happen in your everyday life. And I really like that you can also add friends on there, so I have a really good time lurking my friends' patterns and seeing what areas we like match up in and what areas that we don't. Overall, just find it very interesting. So The Pattern, super great for when you're trying to get your spirituality or your manifesting on. The next app that I really like is called the Flora app. So what is Flora? It's a focus app, basically. It's an app that helps you focus and specifically get away from your phone for a period of time. This one maybe is not as much of a self-care, but more of like a productivity app, but you can definitely use it in a lot of ways to benefit your self-care. I used to use this a lot when I was in school, when I really need to focus for a certain period of time. What it will do is you can set a timer for a certain period of time that you want to stay focused for, and then it will lock you out of your phone essentially. So you could set a timer for 30 minutes while you get a specific task done in your workday or in your schoolwork or whatever, and you'll be distraction free, at least from your phone, for that period of time. And as you accumulate more time used within the app and more focused time, they donate trees. I forget what's the specific organization that they donate to, but it supports conservation causes and helps plant trees and plants, and I think that's super cute and fun. So if you're trying to get focused, Flora is a super useful app. The next app for self-care is called I Am, and it is a daily affirmations app. So if you're not super familiar with affirmations are basically, at least in the realm of self-care, they're usually positive things that you say to yourself throughout the day that help your mind focus on certain positive energy. So the idea is that the more you say these things, the more they reinforce your beliefs about yourself. So if you're into affirmations at all, I highly recommend. I've only recently started using it, but I just feel really good when I see a little affirmation pop up on my phone. One example here, this one says, "I am beautiful." Aww. And the idea is that the more that you say "I am beautiful" or whatever the affirmation is, the more that you will slowly start to believe these things and help to improve your ability to think positively. And so super simple app, very focused on just sending you cute little reminders throughout the day. And yeah, I find a daily affirmation app to be super useful. Another recent app that I started using has been a habit tracker app, and this app is just called Productive. Yeah, it's just called Productive. I have been using Productive just to track really simple habits. So you basically, when you onboard onto it, you will enter a few habits that you want to track, as well as how many times throughout the week or like throughout a day that you want to perform these habits. The more that you track and try and keep your streak of habits, the more ingrained your habit will become. My personal opinion on the best way to use these things is to not try and do too many habits at once. Keep it really simple. Just do like 1 or 2, 3 max habits, especially if you're trying to do it daily, because then it becomes super overwhelming once you have too many habits to keep track of. It's super satisfying when you go through your Productive app and you can check off that you did those things. This is just really helpful if you have specific habits that you're trying to develop or trying to keep. And the last app that's not really an app, I'm gonna call it a half app, but if you have an iPhone, one thing that I've been trying to do a lot more recently has been going into the screen time settings and setting limits on certain apps. So right now specifically, I am trying to limit my time on social media apps. Since we've been in quarantine, I have been on social media way too much, specifically TikTok. I have been on TikTok way too freaking much. So I am trying to practice some self-control. So what you do, you go into your screen time settings and you go into the section that says app limits, and there you can set customized app limits for whatever apps that you want to be spending less time on. So right now the limitations that I have are combined Instagram and TikTok is 1 hour and 30 every day, which I think is totally reasonable, but sometimes I still break my limit, and 20 minutes on Twitter, and that is my screen time limits right now. Screen time limits I feel like are really helpful for when you find that you're getting into that compulsive loop of checking your social media, which I know you guys have, I know I have, I know a lot of us really struggle with that, so I have found it to be really beneficial. That was 6 apps that I've been really enjoying, really loving for my self-care. If you did find some of that information useful or of value to you, I would super appreciate it if you would like and or subscribe. That's it from me. Okay, bye!